Hey.
Yeah.
We gotta go live. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm typing to them.
Okay. Well, hello there, parapeeps, and welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels. Let's Talk Paranormal Live. I am your host, Sean Donnelly.
I'm your co-host, Marianne Donnelly.
A little bit late. Sorry. We're having some technical difficulties.
You know, that kind of stuff that always happens when you're trying to do something live.
Rush. You didn't turn your candle on either. How's everybody doing tonight? We got some people already checking in. Look at that. They're coming. They're not coming to see us. They're coming to see the
Eric.
Bigfoot hunter.
I think so too.
I agree. I agree 100%. I'd come too.
I was just watching my magical turning of the lights back on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Looks like we're streaming good. Looks like the stream's good. Can you guys out there in chat hear us and see us? Everything look good to you? Let us know if we're having issues. Before we get started, I don't have any fancy smancy graphics set up for today, but we do have to get our show supporters up here. And I will do that. A healthy glow going on in the room there, says Michael Farrer Jr. All right, why don't you talk to the room there a second while I find this graphic.
All right, so...
okay, you can stop talking. I found it.
Wow. Cut me right off, too.
What you tell them about tonight's supporters? Can you see it? It's right there.
12-night horror.
Okay.
Keen Online, maybe?
Life.
Keen on Life.
Yeah.
And John F. Leonard. Can you make that any smaller for me across the room?
I guess
Jeez.
I could have did that.
Yeah, that would have been much better. Jeez,
right.
Thanks.
And we have the other Patreon
and
supporter.
And a Patreon supporter, Be Unique. Yes.
Thank you very much. How can they become a supporter?
Well, they can be in the top 3 of liking, tweeting, and retweeting our comments each week. And the top 3 of those, they can be the first list. And then the second version is you can be a $5 a month or more Patreon supporter. So those are the 2 ways.
Okay. What were you looking at in chat?
Nothing.
I'm sorry. Nothing?
No. Just they were talking a little bit about the new change to YouTube's live streaming that they were chit-chatting about. And Michael was mentioning that there are other apps that allow you to do that, so not to worry too much about that.
Yes. So we're not going to... You don't have an eBay update today, right?
I don't, because I left it on my desk at work.
Okay, well, that's a good place for it.
Yeah.
Especially for a live stream.
Well, I had purchased a magazine that was mentioned in a video that I showed my kids. And so I purchased that. It was about the Lindbergh baby kidnapping. And I took that and I took it to show my kids, and I left it on my desk yesterday.
Okay, so we don't have an eBay update.
No, but I do have the new item. It's just
so we'll have
at school.
We won't have it next week either because we'll be
at Hotel
out and about. But we do have an announcement to make. Okay.
What's your announcement?
Our vlogging channel. We started putting some vlogs out. Do you have the link to the vlogging channel?
Oh, hold on.
If you are, if you want to follow along with some of the behind the scenes stuff for Panic D videos, we are putting some vlogs out. Especially now that we're doing this 30-day health torture challenge. Oh man, we got 6 days of cardio in, 30 minutes of cardio, 6 days in a row.
That's right.
And I'm still breathing. So
is.
the vlogs is to kind of check in and see if I've kicked it yet or not. But yeah, if you guys want to, Marianne just dropped the link to the vlog channel.
I did.
And you can follow along with that kind of stuff.
Yes.
All right, so
they're finding it amusing that we're torturing. We're in a torture challenge.
Well, I want to do some traveling.
Exercise is torture.
I want to do some traveling this summer, and it's nice to go doing the paranormal investigation when you can go up and down the stairs and don't have to sit and take a 10-minute break when you get up the stairs. So I thought it was time to kind of get maybe healthy again if I possibly can. So that's why I kind of agreed to it.
And you drugged me into it.
Of course I did.
Make me do exercise too.
I think I'm going to torture myself. Hello? Of course I did. All right, so we got...
I'm sorry, Rachel. That is so untrue. She says exercise can be fun, though. I don't know what kind of exercise she's doing. We got to find out because I haven't found any exercise that I found enjoyable.
Well, today we were out taking bunny pictures.
We did.
So I did not have much time to promote this live stream and let people know. So those of you who are in chat, if you could help us out, let's get Boris in here and it's time. Share it out. Share out the stream. Thank you to everybody who shared this out. Let's see if we can get some more people to join us.
Yeah, so Rachel says that it can be fun if you have like to one up people. So you do it with somebody else, so you can
so
one
like
up
a
them.
competition.
Yeah, one up them. So that would make it more fun. Yeah,
less torture.
And Pusha Studio says they like Zumba. We did Zumba things at a couple of our events that we've done. We've had a little Zumba person. Those people are very excitable.
Very. It's like a little kid that ate a pound of sugar. Come on, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Too much excitement for me. Yeah. Oh, Michael does competitive napping, he says. He
competitive
wants to know if that
napping.
counts.
That should be an Olympic sport. I like that.
I could beat you at that. I know I can.
You would get gold.
I think I could. I do really good at that napping thing.
I like it. That's pretty good.
I like it too.
All right, so we just got a couple quick announcements, and I think these guys are here to see our guest. I want to talk to our guest. It's been a while. We got to get caught up. Yes?
Yes, sir.
All right, so some announcements. We did finally get the White House video out.
Yay!
We were in the middle of doing the White House that week, and we both fell ill to the plague.
Yeah.
It couldn't record any videos.
Yeah, neither one of us could talk for a couple days.
Oh, man, that was horrible. But we did get it finished once we got better here, and it's out there. So we wrapped up, slow down, wrapped up the White House. But there's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
All right, and we put out a poll on our Twitter, Facebook group, and on our channel asking, what do you guys want us to do next? And the winner is Sachs Bridge. We're doing Sachs Bridge next week on the channel.
Sachs Bridge.
One of the most haunted bridges in the United States. Sachs Bridge.
All right.
Of course, everything we do is the most haunted place. One of the most haunted places ever.
I know, but everybody likes to claim that at their location.
Of course they do.
You know.
It sells tickets.
That's right.
But
you don't
Sachs
have to
Bridge
really buy tickets to Sachs Bridge, though.
No,
you
it's
just
free.
Walk out onto it.
It's free to the public.
That's right.
We've been there several times. Took advantage of that free.
That's right. They're all thinking about some competitive...
Sachs Bridge.
Yeah, different type of
S-A-C-H.
H. Yes.
S-A-C-H. Sachs Bridge. So that's going to be next week on Panic D videos. Panic D Paranormal History. Yes. All right. How are we doing? That is 9 minutes. Oh, I guess I need to say who we are. Or are you going to do it?
No, you can do it. Just after we have some of our competitive snacking.
Competitive snacking followed by competitive napping.
Yes, snacking and napping.
I like those Olympics.
I do
think
too.
we ought to do that. All right, so let's say who we are. Are you going to do it?
Nope.
Of course not. All right, like we said at the beginning of the show, Sean and Marianne Donnelly, we are owners of PanicD.com and DarkShadowGhostTours.com. PanicD.com is a database of well over 800 different locations across the United States that have documented paranormal claims. On our channel, we have a series called Our Haunted Travels, which we focus on one of those locations that we've been to. We've been to over 200 of them. And each week we cover a new location. We talk about the history, the ghost stories and folklore of the location, our personal experiences, and why we believe that location is haunted. The gentleman that we are having on the show today, it is all his fault. He's the one that got us started in this. Not only is he a Bigfoot investigator, cryptozoology, he's also the producer of Beyond the Edge Radio, where we started the segment on that show called Our Haunted Spotlight. No, the Haunted Spotlight.
The Haunted Spotlight. We're Our Haunted Travels. That was the Haunted Spotlight.
So that kind of got us going in this, and then one thing led to another, and Our Haunted Travels is born from that. So I blame him, and I'll blame him when he comes on. Which might be a good segue to bring on our guest. What do you think?
That would be wonderful. Yeah. Michael wants to do cross-country ballroom dancing with swords, though.
Followed by competitive snacking and napping.
Yes.
I'd watch it. Would you like to introduce our guest, Marianne, since you are a host as well?
I'm just the co-host, though.
Go ahead while I'm looking for the right screen. That was a cue to please talk while I'm looking for the right screen.
Well, we are going to have on today Mr. Eric Altman. He, as Sean was mentioning, is very much into searching and finding all the information out about Bigfoot and other cryptozoology items as well. He also has... Oh, it's a car. I was like, what is that sound? He also does the radio show, and he also has a lot of background knowledge into some of the Native Americans in the areas as well. So,
without further ado, are you ready? Ready to go? I think he's ready. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eric Altman. Hello, Eric. How are you doing today?
I'm well, Sean and Marianne. How are you guys doing?
He was sitting there very quiet watching us make a fool of ourselves.
He was.
So, like I said, and you heard me, this is all your fault. Everyone in chat needs to blame him for us getting into Our Haunted Travels. Because, you know what? I was thinking the other day, too. I can't remember how this... And we were talking about this on the podcast. I still can't remember, how we got hooked up. It was I think it was something with Panic D, wasn't it? And you had us on the show? On BT?
Yeah, I can't remember either, to be honest with you.
It's been so long. I mean, we've known each other for a while.
I was thinking it had something to do. We were having our paranormal fair, our first.
That was afterwards, though.
And we were on his show, and he was advertising it with us, and we were doing the haunted spotlight pieces. But I don't remember exactly how it came to be.
We're just really good friends. I mean, it happened. We don't know how it happened. If you guys remember, if you saw us go live when we were at HillCon. Eric popped on for a little bit too.
That's right.
He was there with us. That was a good time, good fun. But we're going to talk about your event that's coming up here a little bit too. So everybody who's in chat, if you have any questions or anything about Bigfoot, cryptozoology, Native American, whatever, go ahead and pop them up in chat, and we're just going to sit here and have a little convo
fun chit
with
chat.
Eric.
That's right.
So we got that right? I've seen you do presentations on Native American stuff, and that's what we could have shown. Is
when it comes to Bigfoot and cryptids, yeah, that I can speak on.
You do all kinds of shows. Can you guys hear Eric? Okay, by the way.
What were you going to say? You have?
We have the Bigfoot thing, the Bigfoot plot.
The cast.
Mm-hmm. We could have got that out.
I could have. It's in one of those 3 cases right there.
We're very well prepared.
That's right.
I'm never
have it
prepared.
in my travel bag. It travels with me, Eric.
Just be careful taking that through the TSA check-in. If you fly on an airline, they'll stop you.
The Bigfoot cast?
Yeah, they'll probably think it's a plastic explosive or something.
Oh, you don't even know the stuff that I get questioned about. There was one time I was going to Alaska, and it was back a while back now. So I was taking all of those. Remember the cameras that took floppy disks?
Mm-hmm.
So I had like a big, rectangular object in a film bag that went through, and they're like, "Excuse me, ma'am, come over here." And they're like, "We're going to go through your bag." And they take out this thing, and they're like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Those are my floppy disks." They're like, "That's not a floppy disk, ma'am." And I'm like, "No, seriously, if you open it up, there's like 100 floppy disks in there." And they're like, "What do you need 100 floppy disks for, ma'am?" And I'm like, "Well, I might never get back here again. I need to take a lot of pictures."
Yeah. I was just thinking when you mentioned TSA, it'd be kind of cool to get like an anchor put on that and just wear that Bigfoot thing like a big necklace. Of course, I skirt the fringe of screwing with TSA. I'm going to wind up in custody someday. All right, so we got some questions in chat. Here's a good one. When did Bigfoot become famous?
Well, Bigfoot got its name Bigfoot in October of 1958 when a road crew was basically building a road back into the forest in Northern California near Bluff Creek. They were building a road so they could go back and log in there and clear cut. And when they worked on the weeks, they would go home on the weekends. They come back on Monday, and they would find large human-like footprints all around their heavy operating machinery, like bulldozers and cranes and that sort of thing. And they would find drums of gasoline or oil that were picked up and moved hundreds of feet from where they originally sat. And they were really curious about where these tracks were coming from. Of course, they were familiar with the Native American legends about the creatures around the area. They called it wild man at the time, or big hairy guy. And they didn't call it Bigfoot until Jerry Crew was the foreman of that construction crew. He made a plaster cast of one of these tracks and took it to the Humboldt Times newspaper. And on October 6, 1958, they ran a story about this Bigfoot cast and the tracks that were found around the machinery, and that's what they called it, a Bigfoot. This creature has a big foot. Since then, it's stuck, and we've become more familiar with the term Bigfoot than other names that it's been given.
I just love the fact that he knew like an exact date. I was sitting here laughing. I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me, right?"
I told you guys, he is an expert when it comes to Bigfoot information. Is like, when did Bigfoot?
That'd be October 6th of 1958.
Bam!
Holy cow!
That's awesome. What else do we got?
I was thinking, oh well, back in maybe the late whatever, No, October 6th, 1958.
Yep.
Okay.
I can't. Everything just went blurry.
Oh, that's crazy.
You have
that was fantastic, Eric. I love that. And I love the story that went with it, too. Like, I was flabbergasted at the actual date, just that he knew a date off the top of his head for that. But this whole idea of
It's what he does.
I know, but still, that's just nuts. That's crazy. I love it. But I love the fact that there were barrels of oil and stuff moved from place to place there, too, in that story. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they had these barrels of oil lined up, of course, to fuel the machinery. And when they would come back on Monday, they'd find them moved literally hundreds of yards away, thrown into ravines. And these were 30-gallon drums, 300 pounds. So they're hard for one person to lift, let alone two or three. And for some kind of animal to pick that up and move it that far was pretty impressive to those guys.
Yeah, I can imagine. Can you imagine, like, being one of those guys and coming in like, what?
Where'd my barrel of oil go?
It's crazy.
Well, it's interesting because some of the people that worked on that crew were Native American and had Native American heritage, and they were familiar with what the tracks were. And when they went back to their camp, and they stayed in logging camps, actually, while they worked on this road. And when they went back to their camp, they would sit around the fire at night and talk about these large footprints and possibly that this creature was around.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So where did you say this was?
Bluff Creek, California.
California. Okay.
Yeah. Six River. Yeah, I think it's Six Rivers National Forest.
All right.
Do you
I have another question.
Okay.
Have you ever investigated Bigfoot sightings in Russia? Apparently, there are a lot of them in the Ural Mountains.
I have not been to Russia, but I am familiar with the Almas or the Almasty, which is a Bigfoot-like creature that's been seen in Russia, Siberia, a lot of the mountain areas that you mentioned. That creature there resembles more of a Neanderthal than it does a Bigfoot that we're familiar with, but they do have their wild man of Russia.
So do you think, like, you know, this whatever creature or whatever, you know, somehow they're related somehow?
I can't honestly say if they're related or not because we don't know exactly what a Bigfoot is, but it's some kind of primate, some kind of hominid that may stem from our ancestors. It might be an offshoot, might be a distant relative to us, and it may be a cousin to Bigfoot. We don't know at this point, though.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. Did you have any others?
No, not any other real questions, but some of them are saying that's cool. It's quite unlike the boring Loch Ness Monster. And their Bottlecast is saying Harry and the Hendersons, which I loved that movie growing up. And when I was growing up, I used to watch that movie all the time. I thought it was funny and hilarious, and I loved it. And now that I've gotten to know Eric and the other individuals who have, you know, been researching and studying Bigfoot, like, I liken them to the different characters in that show. So I think it's
so we got some more questions for you that we're going to come back to, but we're at we're a little short of halfway, but I want you to do this a couple times. So why don't you go ahead and tell everyone in chat about the event that you have coming up the end of May, and then we'll come back, do some questions, and then I'll have you tell it again, because the YouTube live streams, how these work, I mean, people are going to come and go, so we may get more people in, you know, like a little bit later. So I kind of like to repeat
do it a couple times.
So why don't you go ahead and tell everyone about the event that you have coming up?
All right. Well, this is the third one that I've organized, and of this type of event. I've been organizing events since 1999, and you're familiar with the paranormal conferences that go on today. I used to do an event like that, but it was strictly on Bigfoot, the Bigfoot subject. But in 2016, I decided to try to do something a little different because at the time, that's all everybody was doing was indoor Bigfoot conferences. And I thought this might be a great opportunity and time to do it, to take an event outdoors, let folks attend an outdoor event where they can actually participate in workshops, and they can go out on Bigfoot night hikes, and they can listen to speakers and really get a hands-on type of feel for what we do as Bigfoot researchers. Because at that time in 2016, there wasn't a lot of emphasis on cryptozoology or the Bigfoot phenomenon. So I created the event called the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Camping Adventure. And at that time in 2016, we only had about 6 speakers. And I think we had one special guest, Trapper from the TV show Mountain Monsters, came in to meet folks, sign autographs and that. And it was a huge success. I was really surprised at how many people showed up for the event. And we raised some money for some local charities. That was another premise of the event, is a charity fundraiser. So it was fairly successful, and I was pleased with it and decided to continue on doing it. Last year, you guys attended, and as you recall, it rained the whole weekend and we got washed out. However, we still had a huge turnout. We had about 350 people show up. This event that we're doing this year is called the 2019 Pennsylvania Bigfoot Camping Adventure. It's taking place at the same location we've had it the past 2 years, Benner's Meadow Run Camping and Cabins in Farmington, Pennsylvania, which is in the mountains of Fayette County in southwestern PA. It's not far at all from the Maryland-West Virginia border, so it's right there in the very far southern tip of Pennsylvania. This year's event features 12 guest speakers. We've got guest celebrities coming in. We've got special guests. Matter of fact, you, Sean, and Marianne will be special guests at the event. You'll have a booth set up. Folks can come by and talk with you in person and learn more about your haunted travels and Panic D, Dark Shadow Ghost tours. But we have a whole weekend planned it's fun for the whole family. So we recommend if you have kids that are interested in the subject, bring them along, because not only is it get them interested and more informed and educated about the subject of Bigfoot, but it gets them away from their tablets and iPhones and laptops and being indoors. They can actually go outdoors, experience, hear the speakers, see plaster casts, learn how to make them, learn what kind of equipment to use when you want to do Bigfoot research, talk to those who are in the field, whether it be from the scientific background to the entertainment background. We've got it pretty much all covered, to the general enthusiast who goes out and looks for Bigfoot on the weekends. There's a little bit of something involved for everybody. But as I said, we'll have 12 and a half guest speakers who will be lecturing on Saturday and Sunday. We've got guest celebrities coming in. There's too many to name, but we do also have TV show celebrities from Finding Bigfoot, the Ames team from the TV show Mountain Monsters. We've got Dr. Jeff Meldrum, who you've probably seen on a variety of different cable channels, Travel Channel, History Channel, Destination America, just to name a few. He's one of the few scientists that are actually involved in the study of the Bigfoot phenomenon. So it was a lot of fun for the whole family. And again, we're raising money for 3 local charities in the southwestern Pennsylvania area. So we invite everybody to come out May 31st through June 2nd, 2019. That's only about less than a month and a half away. So we invite everybody to come out. You can go to our website, pabigfootcampingadventure.com. We've got about 39 tickets left. We're almost sold out. So come out, spend the weekend with us, learn about Bigfoot, go on a Bigfoot hike with us, see some Bigfoot movies, live music, food trucks, vendors. There's so much going on that weekend that the only way to really find out about it is go to the website and join us.
It's going to be a blast. You're right, though, about last year with that rain. Woo! It rained. And now folks, I'm going to tell you, it just didn't rain. It rained. Yes. Like, it did not stop raining the whole time. And I think on our way home, was it on our way home? Yeah, on the way home, there was like, we were driving through areas with flash flood warnings. It just didn't stop.
Yeah. But what else was exciting was they just didn't stop either.
Yeah, that's right, man. They kept on going. I mean, they were out there hardcore. Now, you guys know Sean and Mary Ann Donnelly. We stayed at the bed and breakfast and investigated there. We did stop out a couple times, but we were supposed to take pictures. We were supposed to do the pictures and everything. And we got there, and it was raining. So we said, okay, well, maybe it'll lighten up. And it didn't. So we tried again, and it's still raining, Yeah. We didn't take pictures.
Photography equipment
and
outdoors and rain, it just doesn't work so well. But, you know, we got to say hi to everybody and walk around and visit with different things.
We did a little investigation at the B&B we stayed at. So, but we're going to try it again this year.
That's right.
Hopefully the weather will be better because, it rained. And despite the horrible weather we had, we still had over 300 people come out to the event for the weekend. And they were troopers. They stuck it out through that rain, that cold. We even had snow flurries going on that weekend. But this year, it's a little later. We're having it at the end of May or beginning of June rather than the end of April, early May. Yeah. So we're having it. We changed it. We're hoping for better weather, sunshine, and no rain, and a fun weekend.
Yeah.
So
we have a couple questions too.
Okay, so I'll let you handle the questions, and I want to thank Pusha. Pusha was dropping links, then you dropped links. PA Bigfoot Adventure,
camping adventure.
PA Bigfoot Camping Adventure. Wonder where I get the long titles from. But yeah, we're gonna be there, and I'm looking forward to it, especially since I don't have to. I'll be out of work.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, that'll be during vacation time. So, all right. So what other questions do we have?
So the questions from the chat say, why can't we find them or signs of them like a skeleton?
That's a great question and something I get asked quite frequently. First and foremost, I don't think even researchers like myself are scientifically trained to positively identify carcasses in the forest, skeletal carcasses. And Marianne, you know, you can probably speak to this as well. When an animal dies in the forest, Mother Nature has an amazing recycling system. That carcass, that body is decayed and eaten by other animals, predators, mice. scavengers, and they spread the bones out pretty far. And there's pretty much nothing left within 7 to 10 days, especially for a deer, for example. If a deer dies of natural causes in the forest and it's left there, it's pretty much decayed. And you may find a piece of a bone or part of a bone, but unless you're scientifically trained to identify those types of bones, you can walk right by it thinking it's just another animal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree to that. There's a whole process that it goes through, but when you have a nice fresh meat, lots of other animals.
Why are you smiling when you say that?
I think she's hungry.
Animals go yum.
Jeez, oh man, nice fresh meat.
Yeah, so I agree. It's pretty easily taken apart and dismantled, and you're not going to necessarily find a lot of stuff real easy. And then with the weather conditions too, the decaying along with the rain and the snow and the on and off again temperatures, it's going to help break that bone down pretty quickly as well. So it's going to be harder to find.
What other questions do you have?
Any information on Bigfoot in Canada? And is there any evidence that has been found up in Canada?
Yeah, there's a long history of Bigfoot sightings and encounters in Canada, specifically the British Columbia area. There's been so many reports, and that's actually a hotbed of activity in the British Columbia area. It has been for years, especially around Vancouver Island. There's been sightings, encounters, footprint discoveries. Some pretty good, impressive footprint discoveries have been made up there and collected. The late John Bindernagel, he was a professor of biology. I shouldn't say a professor, but had a doctorate degree in biology, wildlife biology. He studied the subject matter very closely and was convinced that these animals do in fact exist in British Columbia. He's authored several books on the subject, and had quite an extensive cast collection of things that he's collected while up in the Vancouver area. So there's a long history of Bigfoot activity, sightings, encounters, track discoveries all throughout Canada.
All right. Rachel says, Bigfoot sandwich?
Bigfoot sandwich. Yummy.
I think that goes along with my fresh meat. I think that's what Rachel was talking about there. So those are some of those questions there in chat. One of them says that's your event sounds like a lot of fun. They'd love to go. So I did put the link again in the chat for anyone who wants to go to the website and purchase some tickets.
And I think Pusha posted the Facebook group.
Post. Yeah, she was doing the Facebook post group, and I was doing the regular website.
Did you see the question from Ron A?
I did not. Why don't you take that? I missed it. Oh, here we go. All right. So Ron A says that he is a Mountain Monsters fan, and he wants to know, since you have some friendships there and you've had them at your events, are they making more episodes? Do you have any hidden secrets that you can share?
I talk to Huckleberry and Wild Bill on a frequent basis. I can't comment. They've asked me not to say anything, but just keep watching TV and keep watching the news, and I'm sure you'll hear something about the mountain monsters very soon.
So fans may be happy, and we could leave it at that.
Yeah. I think they'll be pleased, maybe. I don't want to speak for the group. I don't want to speak for Huckleberry or Bill, but they're not done yet. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
Well, we know they're definitely going to be continuing to go and look for things. That's not going to stop for them, whether they're on TV or not, I'm sure. That's not in their nature. But they're also going to be at the PA Bigfoot campingadventure.com adventure, right?
Yes. 5 of the 6 guys will be there. Unfortunately, Trapper's had some health issues over the past couple of years, and he can't travel. But the remainder of the Ames team, Huckleberry, Buck, Wild Bill, Willie, Jeff, those guys will be at the event.
All right, so Ron A, head out to the PA Bigfoot camping adventure, and you'll get to see them in person and live.
That's right. Hey, here's what we could do. You come out and you meet us out there, and then we'll go over and corner these guys, and if they're not coming back, we'll talk them into making a YouTube channel.
Ooh. Ooh.
There we go. Did you have some questions for Eric?
Well, I thought that we would deal with.
Oh, you got more in chat?
Thieves.
Well, if you got more in chat.
They would like a good mythical creature story.
A mythical creature story?
So I'm gonna leave. Which character would you like to talk about there, Eric?
Well, it depends on which mythical creature you choose. Whatever you want to.
How about one that you've had an encounter or done some research work where you've gone somewhere to investigate it?
We can talk about the Thunderbird a little bit if you'd like.
Let's do it.
I've done some Thunderbird investigations. What the Thunderbird is basically is a much larger than your average sized bird, much larger than a condor. It has a wingspan of anywhere from 8 to 20 feet, as eyewitnesses claim. Usually covered in all black feathers with sometimes a white ring around its neck, very large talons, large beak. And when people see it, it stands out because it's not, like I said, your typical average bird. This thing has a long history, especially with Native American lore. Some of the Native American tribes thought it was an omen. When this thing flew around, it was warning of impending danger, impending catastrophes or weather, and especially thunderstorms, hence the name Thunder. Whenever it would flap its wings, it would make a loud thundering type of sound. But they're sighted across the United States. Here in Pennsylvania, on the northern part of the state, northern central part of the state, they've been seen quite frequently. They've been seen in Indiana, Illinois, even Texas. And what's interesting is people are reporting two different types of what we would call thunderbirds, or what you might call thunderbirds. One is a typical bird that they can see feathers on it. The other is more of like a pterosaur or pterodactyl type of bird that they're seeing flying, and it seems to have like a membrane or like a lizard-like skin to it, and it resembles something out of the prehistoric era, which is fascinating because, as we all know, those animals are known to be extinct, so they say. But people do describe two different types of thunderbird creatures, one being more like a bird and the other being more like a pterosaur or pterodactyl. From where I used to live in Hempfield Township in southwestern Pennsylvania, it's outside of the town of Greensburg. There have been several sightings over the years of people claiming that they've seen giant birds. One in particular, one location in particular, southwest Greensburg, there's been 3 or 4 sightings within the last 10 or 15 years where people have gotten a really close look at this thing, where it's literally flown 10 or 15 feet above their head, and they've given a really good description. I had the chance to investigate one of these cases in southwest Greensburg where there was a family and some friends. They were all barbecuing in the backyard, just chit-chatting, talking to each other, cooking food, drinking beer, having a good time. And all of a sudden they heard this sound that, as they was described to me, sounded like a flag furling in the wind, how it would flap in the wind. And they happened to glance up and saw this enormous bird flying just above treetop, just above rooftop, as it was soaring down the street and flapping its wings very slowly. And they watched it for maybe a good 2 or 3 minutes until it finally flew out of sight. But they all had a good look at it. They claimed the wingspan was much larger than any known bird, like a heron or a blue heron, condor, an eagle. They ruled out all common birds, especially common to this area. And they said it's nothing like they'd ever seen before. Unfortunately, with Thunderbird reports, they're a lot different than Bigfoot sighting reports, because with Bigfoot, you can go out and hopefully find some tracks on the ground, some hair, maybe droppings, something to that effect. There might be some physical evidence left behind. But with a Thunderbird, if someone sees it flying in the air, unless it drops a feather, you're not going to find anything. But it was still intriguing to talk to the witness, to go down and look at the location, take some pictures. And like I said, it's probably the 3rd or 4th sighting there's been in that southwestern Greensburg area, probably in the last 10 years.
Very cool. Very cool. What is the closest that you have come to any of the mythical creatures in your own life?
Bigfoot would probably be the closest I've come to anything. And I've never seen a Bigfoot creature. I've seen very large tracks in the ground, which very might well come from a Bigfoot creature. They've had toes in them. They're much longer than a normal human track. I'm talking 15 to 17 inches, 8 inches wide, which is much, much bigger than a human's print. And where they were found in areas where people wouldn't normally be walking with their shoes off. But I've heard things in the forest that I can't identify positively. And I'm not talking like deer, bear noises, coyote, owls, night birds, stuff like that. These were screams, high-pitched screams that when this animal let it out, you could feel it. They were very loud and very powerful. And I've been out in the woods so many times over the past 22 years that I've had some really intriguing experiences that I can't chalk up to something that I'm familiar with.
So what are some examples of some things that could tell you just walking by?
Ask that question.
You
like,
were?
what are some things when you're out there that
you should look for?
Yeah, like someone should look for if they're looking, looking for Bigfoot or looking for that kind of thing. Like, what are some of the signs or something like that?
Well, you have to be really careful when you're out there looking for evidence in the forest or you're out there hiking because, unfortunately, this day and age, people tend to jump to conclusions pretty quickly. They see a broken branch or they see a game trail and they think it was done by a Bigfoot. So you really have to be familiar with what causes these anomalies, whether other animals, other people. So there's a lot to take into consideration. But when you're out there looking, typically what I'm looking for are branches that are broken above 6 feet, anywhere from 7 to 10, 11 feet high. And I'm not talking just a branch here and that's it. You'll find typically a walkway or a game trail through the forest that you can see telltale signs of broken branches right at one after another that would appear that some kind of large animal walked through the forest, leaving a trail as it did go. Of course, you're looking for tracks in the ground. Unfortunately, a lot of the soil composition isn't suitable to leave good, impressive tracks in the ground. So you'll usually find just large impressions in the ground. You can take measurements of them, and some may be Bigfoot related, some may not. Other things to look for, and I don't put much stock in this myself, but a lot of researchers do, are the tree stackings and tree formations, which something or someone is stacking trees up against other trees, logs, branches, making intricate designs and almost like artwork where they're making teepee formations. They hang branches and intertwine them with each other. That when you look at it, you can tell nature didn't do that. The wind didn't do that. So a lot of researchers are looking for those kinds of signs. I don't put much stock in them myself personally, simply because there's too many chances that a human could have done that. If they know Bigfoot researchers in the area, they can go out and do that and set the other researcher up for a hoax. So I don't put much stock in those particularly.
Let's see here. So do you find that a lot of people do go out to try to hoax some of the researchers?
I found it in my research over the years. Yeah, there are some people that do like to do that kind of thing for fun and at the expense of serious researchers such as myself. I don't get the methodology behind it because, I mean, all they're really doing is hampering trying to find the truth, right? And they're having a laugh on their part. But it does happen. I've had people call me out and say they've seen a Bigfoot or had an encounter, and I go out and find out they made up the whole story. They planted fake tracks in the ground, which you can tell. Usually you can tell if you see a good track in mud or snow or something like that. You can tell it's a real track by the way the toes splay, the foot moves, the morphology of the foot. When a live foot is pushed down on the ground, it doesn't leave a clear-cut, crisp track. And when you see clear-cut, crisp tracks continually, that's a good indicator that they're made by a piece of wood, a cutout. Somebody put boots on the soles of their shoes or something like that to tromp around in. So you have to look for movement in the foot and the toes and slides and stuff like that. So I've seen them where they've actually used cookie cutter fake footprints and stomped on the ground and left tracks. It's pretty easy to pick them up once you've seen a couple of these over the years. But unfortunately, there are some people that want fame or they want notoriety and they want, I want my name in the paper. They think they're going to get rich or famous from having a Bigfoot sighting, so they fabricate something.
Is that kind of like the approach that you take when you go towards a investigation for the first time? Because it is kind of like with us with spirit research and stuff like that. Is like you approach it from the standpoint of trying to debunk first, trying trying to weed things out to get to the point where it's like, okay, we can't explain this. This is what we test. This is where we dig further. Try to do more research. Is that kind of like the same way when you're approaching like the Bigfoot cases or some of these other cases when people contact you?
Yeah, that's what my operation is. I'm looking for the truth. I'm trying to figure out if this creature exists or not, or if that person had a sighting or an encounter or not. So yes, I want to try to rule out any known factors that may have contributed to their experience, animals, humans, weather, anything along those lines, a misidentification of hearing something they thought was a Bigfoot when it turned out to be a coyote or an owl. I try to rule all that out first. And then it kind of helps, like with ghost hunting, some people just want answers. They want to know what they experienced, what they heard, what they saw. So I want to try to give them the answers, that closure to their experience. Because as you know, haunting can be very traumatic to people and their emotions, their mental state. The same with Bigfoot. Seeing a Bigfoot, knowing all your life that nothing was really out there, and then one day you see this thing, it changes your whole perspective on the world. And it can be traumatic for some people. And I've watched people break down and cry and just become so emotional because they didn't believe it and they were scared. So they want answers, and I try to provide them answers the best I can. And if that means telling them, sorry, you heard an owl, or sorry, you saw a guy in a suit, or sorry, the tracks you found weren't Bigfoot tracks, I'm going to be honest and tell them that. I don't want somebody to think that they saw a Bigfoot and when they really didn't. It was a misidentification. So I don't try to debunk them necessarily, but I try to get to the truth of the matter and rule out any known factors, like I said, human, other animals, weather, anything that might have caused or contributed to their encounter.
And does that sometimes help them feel better about it, going, oh, okay, so that was just an owl, that's great, now I'm not terrified anymore? Or do they get what's the word I'm looking for,
I don't know, it's in your head.
Do they get a little bit more anxious and upset and going, well, no, that's definitely not what I heard? Do they get, what's the word I'm looking for that?
Confrontational?
No, just like upset, but not
upset,
not
defensive?
Mad, but just you know what I mean? You know what I mean, right?
Are they acceptive to your explanations? I think is what she's saying, or
sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And I've had people that have been defensive and insistent that what they heard or what they saw was a Bigfoot. It couldn't be anything else. But yet you can show them, you can play them that same animal call and say, okay, is this what you heard? Oh, yeah, I think that's what I heard. I mean, unfortunately, unless I'm there to experience what they did or saw what they did or heard what they heard, it's really hard for me to say, okay, it was a deer that you heard, unless I heard it myself. But I try to give them the best possible outcome to the situation. Like if they heard something hooting in the forest and it was making this hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, well, okay, typically that's an owl, as we all know. So that's probably what you heard. And some folks are relieved to hear that what they heard, experienced, or saw wasn't a Bigfoot. Other people are a little more aggressive and defensive and saying, no, you're wrong. And you can't change people's minds, but you can at least try to offer them some viable solutions, some viable possibilities of what they might have heard. Not everything is a Bigfoot, unfortunately. There's a lot of people that are of that mindset that any branch they find broken in the woods is caused by a Bigfoot. Any sound in the woods is caused by a Bigfoot. A shadow that moves between trees was a Bigfoot. So you have to be careful with what you're looking at, what you're examining, and you have to use a lot of common sense. That's what I tell people. Just use your best judgment and common sense.
So defensive, that was the word I was looking for, and you used it. See, I knew you knew it, Eric. So when you go out to do investigations, you go out, you listen to their stories, you probably walk along with them, they show you where things were, where they saw things. But then as far as an investigation, what else do you do? Do you spend a couple nights out there? What's your mode?
Well, what I try to do is a couple of different things. I want to look at the history of the area to see if there's been sightings before, especially in that particular area where they had their sighting or their encounter. And that helps validate their encounter. especially if there have been recent things going on there. I don't do a full background check on people, but I try to look into their background a little bit to see if maybe they have an interest in Bigfoot, or they have family or friends who do Bigfoot research, or they're even familiar with the subject matter. Because unfortunately, if someone is an enthusiast and they're all gung-ho to see a Bigfoot, like I said, that a shadow moves through trees, they saw a Bigfoot, and you can't change their mind when you know, in fact, it was probably just a play on light. I get so many videos and photos sent to me that I look at, and they're not Bigfoot, I'll be honest. But you can't change people's minds. But as far as investigating goes, I try to look at history. I try to look at someone's background to an extent to find out, if they're an upstanding person, they don't have a history of drinking or drugs or anything to that effect. Mental health, that's a big factor too. Somebody could have seen something that really wasn't there. Plus, we do some investigations after the fact. If we find anything that warrants further investigations, we'll take a team out there and we'll spend several nights afterwards, or in the next couple of weeks, months, depending on what we feel is if it's worthy or not of further investigation. We'll take out equipment with us, set up night vision equipment, thermal FLIRs, audio equipment to record, and hopefully we'll get something. Usually if we're out there for a while and we're not finding anything after a couple of weeks, couple of months, then we move on to the next area.
Okay. What is the piece of evidence that you found most interesting that you've been able to collect on your own?
I've seen some footprints, and I've cast some footprints on my own. I had a case in 2009 in Fayette County, not far from the campgrounds we'll be having the event at. A mother and daughter, about 5:30 in the evening, stopped on the hillside of a gas cut through, a gas well line, and they knew that gas well line had a lot of animal traffic crossing back and forth, deer, bear occasionally, other animals, and they thought they'd stop and watch the gas well line for a while and see if any animals crossed. And sure enough, while they were watching the gas well line that night, a creature, a two-legged creature, walked out, crossed the gas well line from left to right, and just quietly disappeared into the brush. It never looked at them and never acknowledged them. It just crossed from the left forest across the gas well line into the forest on the right and disappeared from sight. And they contacted Stan Gordon, a good friend of both of ours. He got a hold of me. We were out there the next morning and doing search on both the left side and right side of the gas well line. I found a line of very large impressions in the ground. They were 19 inches long, and it wasn't just one that maybe a rock got overturned or it might have been caused by erosion. These were in a line. There were about 4 or 5 of them in a line. So I cast one of them, and sure enough, it looked like the shape of a foot, a very large foot. Unfortunately, when I made the casting of it, I covered it up, and you have to leave a cast in the ground for at least 2 to 3 hours, because if you don't, it won't set properly and it'll crack and dry. So I planned on leaving the casting material there overnight to let it dry thoroughly and come back the next day. Well, when I did, it rained that night. It caused the track to take on a lot of water, and it ruined the cast itself. So when you pulled it out of the ground, the cast crumbled and fell apart. But it still looked pretty decent when you put it all back together and you were able to put those chunks back together. It looked like a human foot. So cases like that, where you have an eyewitness see something or multiple eyewitnesses see something, and then you find evidence afterwards to corroborate, especially what they're telling you, that's pretty convincing that they did see something.
All right. Do you have questions for him, dear?
I have all kinds of questions, but we're starting to run out of time here. Here's a big one. I know you've mentioned this a couple times, and I know after the event, you got the event coming up, and all that. Well, we are bringing BT radio back, correct?
Oh, he's humming. He's humming.
We're coming back as a podcast, right?
I hope so. My plan has been, we went off the air in 27. Oh, my ghost in my basement's acting up again. Sorry. I just had a cup on my mantle. Let me show you real quick if I can do that. That's the mantle. I had a cup sitting on the mantle over there that fell off by itself. Anyways, back to Bigfoot.
That noise.
Back to Bigfoot. Or BT radio, back to BT radio. In 2017, I finished the year out, and I was planning on taking a couple of months off, but I got sick at the end of November, beginning of December, and I'm suffering from severe rheumatoid arthritis, so I can't use my arms too well. And unfortunately, I can't sit very long without dealing with a lot of pain in my hips. So I put the show on hold until hopefully I can get this into remission and I'm feeling better so I can actually sit for a couple hours and do a show. Once that happens, then yeah, there's a good possibility that BTE will come back. It'll come back in a podcast form once a month. And you guys, of course, will be right along with me and Marie, if we can get Marie back on the show. She's doing a wonderful new podcast show with Marianne now called Paradivas. And but once I do get to that point where I can sit through a show and do it without being in a lot of pain, then that's my plan. So hopefully we'll be back sometime in the future.
Well, you're going to get better.
Yes.
So
yeah.
We'll be back.
Yeah.
It's just when.
Right.
It's just a matter of when, yeah.
Just a matter of when. Yeah.
All right, so I have two more questions from the chat, and we're going to pull them together as one. Yeah. Is Bigfoot potentially going through evolution? And what do you think about the theory that there are multiple human species still existing amongst us, and whether or not Bigfoot could be one of them?
That's some good questions. Every animal evolves over time based on habitat, climate, food source. There's so many factors, human encroachment, so many factors that cause animals to evolve. And yes, I think Bigfoot is evolving. If there is such a thing as Bigfoot, if it does truly exist, I think like any other animal, like humans, any other animal on the planet, it's going to evolve. Into what? I don't know. I can't honestly say. As far as the second question goes, humans, I think there are different species of humans from our past that they're discovering, and they're finding fossil records, and they're even discovering different types of primates, which may be related to us in some way. I don't know where Bigfoot falls on the evolutionary chain, whether it's more human or more animal or more gorilla-related, orangutan. I know the difference between humans and orangutans, the DNA is only like, I think 5% or something, that small amount of differences in the DNA between, chimpanzees and humans. So it may be closely related to us. It may not be. It may be an offshoot of Paranthropus or, like I said earlier, Neanderthals. We really have no idea. The scientific community right now, Dr. Jeff Meldrum especially, and some of the other scientists that are involved, believe it may be an offshoot or a relative of the largest primate that ever existed, known as Gigantopithecus, that existed in China. And they do have scant fossil records of that, teeth, jaw, just some small bones. But they know that animal existed. And if you look at the artist renditions, what they believe the Gigantopithecus looked like, it fits very similar to what people describe seeing when they see a Bigfoot. So I think there are different species of humans out there, just a matter of where they are and what the population is, and if we can find them.
Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. I can't believe we're almost out of time.
I know, I can't believe that either.
So before we do run out of time, would you like to talk about the event again coming up the end of May? And we'll go from there.
Okay, sure. The event is called the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Camping Adventure. It's taking place May 31st, June 1st, and June 2nd at Benner's Meadow Run Camping and Cabins in Farmington, Pennsylvania. And there's actually two Farmington, Pennsylvanias. I didn't know that, but this one is located in Fayette County. It's in the mountains of the Chestnut Ridge, just south of Uniontown, Pennsylvania. We've got 12 and a half guest speakers. And I get asked, why 12 and a half? Well, we've got a father-son speaking together, presenting together. So the young man, I think he's 11 or 12. He's our half a speaker, if you will. We've got guest celebrities, like we mentioned, the Ames team from the TV show Mountain Monsters will be there. Cliff from Finding Bigfoot will be there. We've got Dr. Jeff Meldrum coming in, a lot of other great TV celebrities. We've got special guests that are going to be at the event. Sean and Marianne from Panic D, Dark Shadow Ghost Tours, our Haunted Travels will be there. They'll have a booth set up. It's a charity fundraiser, so we're raising funds for 3 local charities in the Fayette County area. Lucky Paws Animal Rescue, Fayette Friends of Animals, and Unity, A Journey of Hope. So all proceeds that we raise from the event are going to be donated to those 3 charities. It's a great time for families to bring up their kids. A lot of people are bringing their children to come learn about Bigfoot, hear lectures, participate in workshops, watch movies, hear live music, food trucks, vendors, night hikes. There's a whole lot going on. So if you want more information on it, find out who the speakers are, the celebrities, etc., go to our website, pabigfootcampingadventure.com. Again, that's pabigfootcampingadventure.com. Check us out. We only have 39 tickets left till we're sold out. And if we sell out before the event, there will be no tickets available at the door. So get your tickets now because they're going really fast. We've sold 460 tickets so far.
Wow. That's amazing.
Wow.
It's going to be a big event.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to have to order some more business cards.
Make sure you bring Boris with you.
Bring Boris?
We'll have to bring Boris.
Maybe Boris we'll bring or big Boris?
I don't know. We'll bring either big Boris or travel Boris.
All right.
All right, so, hey, we want to thank you very much for coming on. I hope to have you on again because this is some awesome stuff.
Yeah, and we just scratched
the surface
of the stuff
everyone
in
in chat was just like, oh. So I want to have you on again if you don't mind. We'll have you on.
Oh, sure.
Later on, and we'll talk about some other stuff and branch out our little paranormal Let's Talk Paranormal show here a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's got so much stuff up there in his head.
Yeah, it's like
this is just scratching the surface.
I like to talk about some Native American folklore and stuff like that. So we'll have to have you on again and do that. Mm-hmm. Could you hang around for a few minutes while we close out the show?
Sure. Not a problem.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Eric. I'm in chat. Loved it. That was great.
Absolutely.
So let me switch over to here. And we'll be with you in a second. All right, folks. Hey, this is going to wrap up another Let's Talk Paranormal.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
I know. And it was so exciting getting to see Eric again.
Yes. Very good to see Eric. Very good.
Yes.
Just again, so you guys know, this week coming up, we're doing Sachs Bridge on the channel. So if you haven't heard of it, you will after next week. And then next Saturday, we're going to come to you live from a location. We're going back to Hotel Conneaut.
That's right. We're going to be out there for a event, and hopefully I'll be there by 5.
Yeah, if not, we'll be in the car on the way to Hotel Conneaut at 5. But that's what we got going on next Saturday.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else you would like to
add? Just thank you to everybody who came tonight and had great questions. Eric got his workout, even though he had answers like this for everything. It was amazing.
That was awesome having him on. I really didn't have to prep much for the show. That was awesome. All right, guys. Hey, again, thank you for coming. Great show. I loved it.
Absolutely.
All right, until next time.
Thanks for watching.
And happy hunting. Let us know if you like this video by hitting that thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, support our channel by hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell so you get notified the next time there's a video from Panic D Videos.
Thanks for watching.
Happy hunting.